All right. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to episode 5 of the Pope and El Jefe's podcast. Was it something we said? And good afternoon, my brother. Good to
Good
see you.
afternoon, good evening.
Oh, good evening. Well, I keep saying good afternoon. Anyway, good evening. Good evening. Yeah, my kids are. I got them trained on that. We don't talk unless somebody say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So good evening. Proper greeting.
Good evening. Proper greeting.
All
Good
right.
thing.
All right. So what we got on tap for today? We got several topics, same format but different topics. First topic, we're going to talk about what's in the news, and we're going with Did he do it? We're going to talk about the Sean Combs case and where things stand and our general thoughts on it. That's topic one. After that, we're going to get into sports with now we have the final 4 teams in the NBA playoffs. We'll get some thoughts on that. And then the Lions schedule dropped last week and where we see the Lions record for the upcoming season. I can't wait for football to start. After that, we're going to get into who are the candidates for the next mayor of Detroit. And then to wrap up the show, we'll go with the jam of the week from the Pope and the Pope's message. All right, so let's get started with this Diddy case, man. Cassie had some testimony this week, both from a prosecution and a defense standpoint. But until today, I didn't really know what the hell he was being charged with. So I see it's sex trafficking, racketeering, and abuse. So he's got a lot going on from a charges standpoint. These are federal charges too. And I guess it stems from these so-called freak-off parties that he was hosting, which by all accounts was heavily attended. A lot of people there. But so far, the only voice I've heard is Cassie's on the stand. I'm sure some others coming up. But what's your take on what's going on so far?
Yeah, like you say, it's an 8-week trial, so we just getting into it. And it was one other person did a little testimony as well after Cassie. Cassie, her testimony was about 20 hours that she went through. And like you say, racketeering, we look at the charges. So, I mean, this is just graphic. I mean, some of the stuff that she didn't testify to, that's I don't know what kind of perversion that is. Yeah. I mean, I done heard a golden shower. I ain't
Yeah,
even heard people saying, yeah, I done, I shit on. I ain't never heard nobody talking about they done peed in somebody's mouth.
yeah. I think the Japanese term for that's bukkake, allegedly for for the taking a dump on somebody. But man, yeah, it's and then the semen rubbing on the nipples. Like, damn, Diddy, what the hell you got going on at these parties? Wearing all white shit.
Yeah, it's just what's going on. But then you got the video that they showed from the hotel and
Yeah,
that too. So right now, ain't a lot of the things you hear is kind of really based on domestic violence. And he ain't been charged with anything for domestic violence. So I think what they trying to get him on is this racketeering conspiracy. That gets you life in prison. The 2 charges of sex trafficking or sex trafficking get you 15 years. And transportation to engage in prostitution, that gets you 10 years.
yeah. Diddy might be
So,
gone for a minute.
right, yeah, I think he done. Kidnapping and drugging, coercing women into sexual activity, sometimes using firearms, or threats of violence. So I think as this case is kind of going on, and like you say, she's kind of on both sides of this thing. So at some part, in some text messages, they showing that she's a willing participant. In other cases, she's saying, hey, he didn't got the stuff on me, so he got something on me, so that's why I'm doing it that too. A lot of stuff she done said that, yeah, she was the one going out, getting the people profiling and all that stuff. So I think all that stuff is building up to them trying to pop this conspiracy,
Yeah.
this racketeering conspiracy thing on them.
Well, the video from the hotel hallway when he chased her down and he beat her ass. And to me, you could light the motherfucker up from that video alone. That was a coward move. And I know he's got this so-called power. He's in the media world, in the entertainment world. He's Puffy, Sean, whatever hell you want to call him today. But that was weak for the way he put his hands on that woman. And if anything, I said lock his ass up on that video alone. But as far as these freak off parties, the white parties he was having out in the Hamptons, there was a lot of people, and maybe they're going to be coming up to testify because I'm surprised he hasn't dropped names to say, hey, like pull a Nino Brown, like, hey, it wasn't me. There was some other people involved with this. So it's going to be interesting to see these next, what did you say, 8 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's like 8 weeks that this trial's supposed to end.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see. They'll probably wait until the last 2 weeks to drop the bombshell witnesses, and because you don't know who's going to be called to that stand. If it's going to be J-Lo, Mace, all these other entertainers that he was buddy and ex-girlfriends that he had. It's all kinds of pictures surfacing, people, and they ain't blacked out nobody either. You got people smiling, everybody look happy in these pictures. So I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, because they can freak on in that stuff there too. But, even though like you say, the way he beat that girl, that guy wasn't, like you say, he don't do nothing like that. Mm-mm. But then again, two people going to say you can always leave. But that's another thing. People want fame too much to be, dealing with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it ain't worth it.
You just walk away. I'd rather be whatever I am. I don't need all that. Just walk away. And yeah, so it has been some threats he didn't beat, and they said it's been other acts and stuff too. But when you're a pimp now, like Wayne Brady say, am I going to have to slap a bitch? Pimp slap hoes. Ain't saying it's right, but that's what happens. Yeah, so they get them in line.
In that setting, let me ask you a question. So, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it was reported that Cassie's current husband, listening to this testimony, stormed out of the courthouse. If it was you, married to Cassie, and you listening to all this was happening on, what would your react? What do you think your reaction would be?
Man, I don't know. Man, Andre talked about this some at the golf course.
Uh-huh.
If he didn't know this, this is like you say, this is just a, I'm gonna call it a culture shock, just to be with all what then went through. So I don't know what's going through his head, but he there for the money or whatever. He gonna stay until the money and stuff come through. And like I read, somebody was saying is that, hey, you can't fault her for things that happened before you. He said, but after hearing it, he said, I gotta go study how to get my freak game up.
Yeah.
So it all depends, like you say.
You're gonna look at it a little bit differently, I would think. And the first argument they have, he's got a lot to bring up.
Well, then he need to go if
he need to go now.
Well, yeah, he need to go now. Ain't no sense of bringing it up because it's all out there too. And that's another reason why, hey, why am I going to tell this stuff too? Because now am I going to be exiled and from all this stuff that's going on? And that's another reason why, hey, if this ain't right, you got to speak up. It's got to be put out there in order for something to be done against it. Now he's saying that he just test case and all of a sudden you get all these charges and now this stuff comes from, this was years ago. This ain't like this happened, yesterday either. And we live life by the moments. And for some of those moments, hey, like you say, the people smiling and stuff, they into it. But now later, times when you look back and you see that, you may have some regrets about being involved in it and that stuff there too. But, at the time, you're going with the flow. So it's plenty more testimony, plenty more other stuff that's coming up. So this just scratching the surface. And, and all this other stuff there too, it just kind of make him seem like, deplorable. And then he's saying, well, I watched the video and yeah, now you get, now he's saying, yeah, I'm kind of sorry and this, that too. So
you're gonna hear a lot of people say Hugh Hefner had the Playboy Mansion But I ain't seen no videos of you kicking nobody's ass either. Maybe it's a different time as far as everything's on film these days. But it's that's black and white, and I know literally and figuratively is black and white. Because you're printing magazines, there's no racketeering going on, there ain't no sex trafficking. I can't think of a parallel to say if you could do it, Diddy could do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there ain't no parallels, and then too, because somebody else did it, don't make it right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unfortunately, you can say, hey, they did this and did that, and they didn't get away with it. But if they pull you over and everybody's speeding, you the one got the ticket, you the one got to deal with it.
Right.
But now all of a sudden you getting all this remorse and, well, yeah, I looked at this here too. Here's one of my favorite lines from a movie, Disclosure. Remember that movie with
is that Debbie Moore?
Demi Moore and Michael Douglas. So with all this, yeah, here too. There's one line that she said in that movie, and I'm gonna say the line, and then about him talking about, well, I'm kind of feeling sorry. So, and those of you don't know it, look at the movie and see what it's about. But when she was talking to Michael Douglas after, it kind of went on the, stand and all that stuff there too. And she looked at him and told him, because, I didn't want to do it. She looked at him and said, you get a conscience after you stick your dick in my mouth.
Yeah.
Same thing with Diddy. Now you get a conscience after the fact. So, hey, we just got to see how this thing gonna play out.
Yeah, I love Disclosure. That was a good ass movie.
And go from there.
All right. Well, look, I think we got some good comments on both ways for this Diddy trial, and let's see what the next 7 weeks bring us. So, with that, let's switch over to the next topic. Sports, and we finally got the Final Four. We got the Knicks and Pacers, and now we got the Wolves. And this afternoon, Oklahoma City dispatched of the Joker. I'm surprised that series went as 7 games. I really am. But what's your thoughts on who's left?
I'm so surprised because, again, OKC, this is new territory from them coming to the playoffs and stuff there. So regardless, it's a learning curve you got to go through. You got to go through and win. So as I can see what the Final Four is, all the old gangsters is gone. This is a young man's league now. New York, young team. Indiana, young team. Minnesota, young team. OKC, young team. All the old greats. Is it too old or they got hurt? Old and hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And just done got bounced out of here. So the power of the leagues is shifting more to these young Thundercats, like I call them out here, doing it. Indiana, New York. Indiana took them out last year when those two met. So we'll see. It's Towns, he shows up, he don't show up, and he do show up. So Brunson he there. Now Brunson didn't show, he ain't going nowhere.
Real deal.
Yeah, he the real deal. He just like David Ruffin when they was talking about putting him out of temptation. He said, I refuse to let you go. So
yeah, he refused to let them lose.
Right. So he ain't going nowhere. So now we got SG and the Ant-Man going against each other. So now, how is that series gonna go? With Rando and with earlier with that trade between the two, but it seemed though it has worked out for both of those teams.
Yeah.
That trade. Minnesota got back to the conference finals, and New York done advanced. The first time they're getting back there in a while, 20-some years, 2000 something like that. So yeah, so it's just interesting to see if what pace Indiana's gonna try to put on New York, because they up and down, running, gunning, and that stuff there too. So can they slow that pace down, and is that pace gonna be more detrimental to them because Tibbs don't go that deep into his bench?
7 people, maybe 8. That's it.
Maybe 8.
Well, The way I see it, it's how I see it and how Adam Silver sees it. All right, so I'll talk about my part first, since it's our show. Over in the regular season, the Pacers and Knicks, the Knicks won 2 out of 3. Average score of 128 to 111. OKC and Minnesota split 2-2. Average score, Wolves 119, OKC 118. So pretty tight there. But based on what I've seen so far, I think Indiana is going to try to run the Knicks out of the gym for what you said, to tire the Knicks out. As far as Oklahoma City and Minnesota go, I would love to see Oklahoma City advance to the finals, but I think Ant-Man and Minnesota are going to raise their game up a notch. Maybe going these 7 games with Denver might have took a little bit out of OKC. But I see a Minnesota, Indiana finals. Now, Adam Silver, I know he wants the Knicks in the finals just from who's turning on the TV standpoint. The Knicks is a big, huge market, one of the biggest markets besides LA. And then you could get, I think Adam Silver wants to see Minnesota, so they could play the Randall versus Towns, and each of them come up playing against their old teams. But I think Indiana going to upset Silver and be in the finals. And I guess when we get to the finals, we'll see. We'll talk about that for those predictions. But it's going to be good. It's going to be entertaining. You know, I enjoyed these playoffs so far, not from a BetMGM standpoint so much, but it's been exciting. It's been exciting.
Yeah, they've been, like you say, it's been exciting. You had a few runaway games like today in that second quarter. They just got going, and the Joker and them they couldn't do nothing. Aaron Gordon, he was hurt. He out there barely moving around like the mummy and.
But he played though. He going to put a lot of people like Kawhi and others that break a nail and they sit out for 3 weeks. This man had a grade 2 hamstring strain, and he was out there playing.
Yeah.
So he in the eyes of his teammates, I think he'll always be the ultimate teammate for what he did today. At least he tried.
You're right. And then they don't go too deep either. They brought my one man off. I ain't see him till the other day. He come in.
I can't even tell you his name.
Me either. That's why I say my man come in. But they ain't got no bench play either. Like you say, Westbrook. Hell, today he wasn't even shooting. You just go in there, pass, and Then once they got off running, it was over. They ain't have enough to come back. Then you saying Murray was, sick with the flu, whatever.
Yeah, he was sick for the past few days.
Yeah, so it was over with, and they ain't have no kind of comeback. But if you look at, like you say, you look at Indiana and you look at OKC, they got bench help come in there too. So. Yeah, is it going to be a war of attrition? Who can last?
It's going to start up, I think, Tuesday. Tuesday's the first game.
Yep, I think Tuesday's first game.
I'll be tuning in. I'm sure a bunch of people will too. So let's switch gears and talk about the Lions' schedule, and let's look at the schedule.
Brutal.
It is a brutal schedule.
Brutal.
So let's go game by game, and we give a prediction. I got mine. I got them going 12-5. So let's go week by week.
You giving predictions now?
This is just week 1. I mean, this is right now. It's just prediction.
Right now.
Yeah, this is going to all change during training camp.
Vegas line was 10.5.
10.5, and I'm definitely taking the over on that.
And I'm taking the under.
All right. Well, that's the first discussion we're going to have then. All right. So let's
take it on.
All right, so let's go with we ain't gonna talk about the preseason. Let's just get right to it.
Well, but preseason still Chargers a playoff team from last year.
But these starters ain't gonna play in these games. They hardly play.
I understand that, but just from a schedule perspective, and they only playing 2 preseason games.
Well, they got the Hall of Fame game, and then they got the Falcons.
The Falcons, and that's it.
No, they got the Dolphins.
Oh, the Dolphins.
And Texans. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got 4 games.
Right. So, playoff team. I mean, it's just a recurring theme, and that's why I'm saying even in the preseason, they got them matched up with all these playoff teams.
Well, they were a playoff team, and for years we were getting that last place schedule, and thought we was going to win it all the next year, so maybe we're going to flip it this year with the first place schedule. So, yeah, this is what you get when you win. So, I don't want to go back to mock drafts after the fourth week because we know the team going to suck. They got a good team, and now it's time to pay the piper and play big boy football.
Yeah,
right?
But if you look at other people's schedules, Minnesota got a much more favorable schedule.
You look at San Francisco.
The Lions in San Francisco. But yeah, this is about the Lions. So
yeah,
all right.
Let's go. Week 1. Who you got? Packers or Lions?
That's a tough one. Again, the division is tough. So
who you got?
Let's see. 2, let me see. 3 times 2 is 6. I'm saying they're going to go 4-2 in the division.
You got Lions or Packers week 1?
They got to have. So I'm going to go Pack since they got to have 2 losses.
All right.
It's an opening game on the road.
I took Lions. Let's go to week 2. Ben Johnson and the Bears. Who you got?
I got the Lions.
I got the Bears. Oh, no. Hell no. I got the Lions with that one, too. I had to go crusty on that one.
Well, that one's at home.
Yep.
Go from there, too.
Ravens, Monday night.
I got the Ravens in a rout last time.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty.
I got Lamar beating them, too, on Monday night. It's at Baltimore. The next game, Browns, I'm taking that as a W.
Yep, I got that. I can see that as a W.
All right, Lions, Bengals. I got the Lions winning.
That's a pick 'em for me.
By the way, with this game, when we meet for dinner next week, let's discuss a road trip for that one. It's just a short drive to Cincinnati, and it's early enough. You ain't got to worry about no snow or no excessive heat. So let's talk about that Saturday, making that a road trip game.
Okay.
All right. So, you got to pick them. I took the Lions. Next game, Lions-Chiefs. I got the Chiefs winning that one.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Chiefs. But that's kind of pick 'em, dude. They done beat the Chiefs before, but yeah, for me, I'm on the fence. But 2 road games in a row, yeah. I say Chiefs.
All right. Then we come back to Monday night with Baker and the Bucks. I got the Lions winning that game.
Yeah, they can beat the Bucks. I mean, but Baker and them gives them trouble. I think they can win that one.
All right. We got a bye week. When we come off the bye week, we got the JJ and the Vikings coming to town. I got the Lions winning that game.
Yep, I got the Lions winning that one.
And then after that, we go to Washington and Jaden Daniels and his mother.
I got Mama Daniels and the Commanders.
I got the Lions winning a payback game for that one. But show Jaden's mama on the screen a couple times, I'll be happy. All right, next after that, we got the world champs, the Eagles.
I got that as a loss.
I got that as a loss too. I still remember the Philly game and Rodney Peete in the playoffs. So Philly's a bad place to play. After that is the Giants. I got that as a Lions win. No problem there. Next game is we got Green Bay Thanksgiving. I got the Lions winning that one.
I got the Lions winning that one as well.
The next game, I got the Lions beating the Cowboys' ass on December 4th. That's a home game.
Yeah, but they may want a little revenge from the way we dusted them last year. But I still got the Lions on that one.
We're going to dust their ass this year. Then we go to the Rams and Matthew. I think the Rams win that game.
Yep, I got Rams in that one on the road.
All right, we come back against the Steelers. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It might be Aaron Rodgers or a couple other bums they got, but I think the Lions win that game against Pittsburgh at home.
I got that as a win.
Next game is at the Vikings. I got that as a loss. That's on Christmas Day, by the way.
Yeah, I guess one of these two I gotta have a loss since I said they was losing 2 in the division. So
yeah, and then wrap up the season against the Bears, and I got us winning that game. I think Chicago would have had a long season by then, and they'll be ready to go to Cancun. So yeah, I got them at 12-5, but maybe they go 11-6. I'm still taking that over 10.5 in Vegas. So
I'm taking the under, and I got them at 10-7.
All right. All right. Well, we'll see how it all shake out.
Well, we'll see what the odds is when we go to Vegas. If it's still 10.5, I'm gonna bet the
All right.
under.
I'll beat you at the window, like I told Calvin. I'll beat
Yep,
you at
we'll
the
meet at the
window.
window for that one.
Yep.
I'm gonna take the under.
All right. Next topic is this mayor's race for the city of Detroit, and let's look at the candidates because there's 9 people that's currently running. If you asked me before this how many were running, I wouldn't know. I looked it up, and looking at some of these people, it's like, who the hell are you? So I don't know this guy.
Know him either till I looked him up today myself.
Okay. So I mean, he ain't gonna do that. But looking at these names here are all the names. Barlow, you got James Craig. I think we all know him. Durhall's on the city council. We'll see these people, but
Well, Chantel, ex-city council, she the head of CEO of Thor.
yeah, she. I think she quit it too, or maybe they quit her, but I don't think she's running that program no more. But Todd is the lawyer.
Yep, he the lawyer.
He's the president of the council.
Right.
So let's look at. So we looked at Barlow.
Danita, she done ran twice before.
She may be running a third time in a few years.
And lost. And then, hell, I saw one they got a write-in. Rodrigo Landon, political advocate. Now, I definitely don't know who the hell he is.
Oh, name alone, James Craig is in it, but I think Jimmy done tried everything else. He might be running for dog catcher after this one because he's trying to get back to the city, but I think it's going to be a no mas for him.
Yeah, I think him, right, wrong, and different. I think that going to Republican kind of thing kind of hurt him.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to hurt him for the city as well.
Right.
Yeah, so like you say, name recognition, you done seen him, but police chief, the mayor, and after you done been out for a while now, I don't see him as a front runner to win.
So Durhall, I don't know much about him. I mean, all of the candidates saying the right things right now is what you should expect. That I haven't heard anything bad about him, but I have heard his name, so I can see him being in the race.
Yeah, and the two is how much who gonna get behind him, how much money they gonna raise. I mean, he was in the state law. Now he's city council. But again, I don't see much juice for him. He just getting, I don't.
This guy right here, I ain't never heard of him.
Well, he, businessman, he's 75, again, I hate to age discriminate, but he too old. He too old.
He's old.
Entrepreneur and wholesale distributor. I mean, yeah. And like you say, everybody's got saying the right thing and what they trying to do.
Yeah.
The other stuff there too. So
see, for people for candidates like this, I watch a lot of the local news. Always have, always will. And for the people we've seen so far, James Craig, he's been in the news several times, right? He used to be the chief of police. Tried to get on the ballot to run for governor. He's got some face value. Durhall, I know him from.
Actually, he was a write-in candidate for the governor.
Mm-hmm.
After his signatures turned out to be bogus.
Yeah, I think Perry, him and Perry had some.
Him and Perry talking about he had a damn quality control.
Right, that's right.
You had a quality control, and you don't know. So
yeah, Perry got a leak in the organization. But for people like this guy, what's his name again? Joel Hashim. I never heard nothing about him in the news, whether it's good or bad. So name recognition when you look at voting in Detroit, you don't really get a big turnout. So people are going to be going for a name they recognize and people they got a good feeling.
Right, wrong, and different. If it's a name you recognize, it's a name that you been doing something. And again, I can't say what the man did or didn't do,
Right.
but it ain't got enough pub to generate so that you, like you say, oh yeah, well, yeah, I know him. He did this and here.
Yeah.
I heard that too. He didn't, heard nothing bad either. So, but yeah, I agree.
All right. So here's Santil. So she resigned from that Warmth Fund, I guess to concentrate on the race. She's got some name recognition, but I guess unless you were in her district and she did something good for the district, I don't know how many people outside the district are going to say, I like her. I'm going to give her a chance. So,
Yeah, I remember she was on council for a minute there. So,
yeah,
but so like you say, a name that is recognizable
it is.
that you know through the city in there too.
All right. So, let's see what's up next. I ain't never heard of this guy either.
Well, nah, you ain't heard of him. He's the senior pastor at Triumph Church. He on TV every Sunday.
Well, I
And
guess I
that
read.
stuff there too. So,
Okay.
right. So, no, as far as some name recognition, yeah, I know who he is and that stuff too. But
Okay.
my first thoughts is keep church and state separate. He want to get up here. We don't know if he gonna mess around, get a vision from God to say something there too. So, no, man, we don't need all that.
You don't need
We
it.
don't need all that in the
Nope.
office. And again, like you say, I seen do his stuff on yeah, he be on Channel 4, and he's got, I don't know if it's an hour, half hour stuff where he does his lesson plan, sermon, church, whatever you want to call it. But no, I just don't like church.
You want to keep the
officials.
separation.
Yeah, keep the separation. Stick to God. Stick to God.
All right. Todd, I think a lot of people heard of Todd, attorney. He's got name recognition. He's got facial recognition. Now, what's his message? Right. So, looking at his message here, public safety, want people to feel safe. He's another person that, for what you've heard in the news, I ain't never heard nothing negative about him.
Nope, neither have I.
I know he's always fighting for the little guy. I think he might get some votes, but I don't think he's going to be I don't think he'll be in top 3. I don't think so. Yeah. So let's see here. Now this is my favorite here.
This is my favorite too. Now
Vote for Mary.
I've been accused. Yeah, Mary. Yeah, that's my front row. That's my front runner, Mary.
Yeah, she's been out there from day one before she became president of the city council. She's been on the streets in the neighborhoods, and she's believable. I know when you talk about politicians and believable, those are oxymorons to one another. I've heard some grumblings, but it may be coming from her competition that it's really her father's running, and she's just going to be a puppet for her father. I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true either. I mean, a lot of times where you have some legacy and other kind of stuff there too, then you got that kind of connection that people want to try to make. But no, I think she done made a name of herself for herself, and that's not the case. And also too, at 37, she started this thing, when she was 21. Running for different stuff in there too and getting involved in the politics and that stuff. So, she's put in some work.
Yeah, from day one.
Work in the city and that stuff as well. Like you say, when she got city council, she done been head of it. That means she done got more votes than anybody for these kind of terms and stuff there too. But no, just as far as with working with, current mayor's office and that stuff there too, I see her as having the more experience and that stuff in there too. So I see her as the front runner as well.
All right. Well, I think they've got Danetta Simpson. I ain't never heard of her.
Well, yeah, she done ran a couple times. She done ran for mayor a couple times back in 2016, 17, something like that. She also ran from another office, U.S. District Congress, state there too. So she ain't get no traction or gain nothing there too. But you say outside of that, like you say, yeah, what's there too. So, but also in this, again,
That's the name. There's 9 people right there.
right. But again, some of this stuff too. Look, I looked in. What's the qualifications to run? All you gotta do is you be a U.S. citizen. You got to be a Detroit resident, and you got to be a qualified and registered voter. So that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a signature of 500 minimum and 1,000 max. Valid signatures. Let me say that. Valid signatures.
This is to get on the ballot?
Yep, to get in there from Detroit registered voters. And then you got to file your petition. They had till April 22nd to file their petition to get on the ballot. And then they got a primary August 5th, and then the general election is November 4th. But when I look at this thing and I just kind of see where the city's at, where the city needs to go and everything here too. You got a lot of stuff saying that, hey, we got to focus on the neighborhood, focus on the neighborhoods. Yes, you do. But we all know what is the neighborhood? It's got to be profitable for people to go in there and go develop and do stuff. And then again, it needs to be sustainable as well. So I think this person needs to be able to work within the city council and within the city diplomats to get things done. I also think they need to have some kind of relationship, if you can, with neighboring cities, because it may be some things that, hey, you can get together and do between the two cities that'll help cities out. And there's also, too, from a regional perspective, because to get bigger fish to come in, you got to have a better region. And Detroit is a big part of that, too. So what's going to be the atmosphere with that? And also, too, what are you going to do about unemployment? The employment rate in the city is about 10.7%. Poverty rate in the city is like 33.8%. They say it's about 45,000 people on city welfare and other kind of stuff there too. The median household income is $39,575, and the average rent ranges from $97 to $1,650 a month. So that also needs to be a focus too. You got to bring something in here which is going to elevate people.
Yeah, and I think you got to look outside. The city don't need no more car washes. It don't need no more barbershops. Bring in some viable businesses and hire the people from Detroit. If you look at, when when Ilitch was building the stadiums, and he was saying, yeah, the people from Detroit are going to be building this stadium. I don't think that was the case when they, started, pouring cement and all that.
Well, no, they had to pay the fines because of the contract and stuff, because they didn't have it. So some stuff they was trying to get the fine. They still ain't did all the things in the agreement yet.
Yeah, so you got a lot
agreed upon. But barbershops and other stuff, though, those are small businesses. So
True.
Those are people trying to create opportunities for themselves and going into business. So as a big thing too, the city doesn't bring that kind of stuff in. That's me saying, hey, I cut hair. I want my own shop and get my own shop. So I still think they need to foster that, but you still need to bring in, you got to bring in some decent paying jobs to raise that median income up, so that when you do have people to come in, want to develop, that they're going to develop in areas that's going to be sustainable, because it's a lot of stuff they build that's not sustainable over there by Highland Park or whatever. Might even been in Highland Park. They built all these, I call them road kind of houses. Ain't nobody lived in them houses. They look shut down, everything else there too. So you just can't come and build anything anywhere. But people want profit. So they're going to build in the area to where it's going to be profitable at.
But it's got to be profitable. But if you look at what like Apple is coming into downtown, you got Lululemon, you got Nordstrom off the rack down there. That's good. But what can happen is that Pookie and them come in, 2:00 in the morning trying to break into these stores and stealing. There's on Livernois and Clarita, It's a little business over there, shoe cleaning, gym shoe cleaning place. I think that's been broken into 3 times. So this is a small business. Brother trying to do something good for the city, for himself, more probably himself than the city, but still. My point is these cockroaches coming in, breaking into his place. You think he want to stay there and keep having that happen? Where his insurance is going to go sky high, and he just trying to earn an honest living?
Exactly.
So let's see what happened when the Apple and all these other big name companies come into Detroit. People gotta behave themselves. I know, these ninjas don't read the paper, they don't watch the news, or they don't hear what people saying about them. But those are the ones that's gonna fuck it up for everybody.
But those areas are already kind of protected. Even what was my man Gilbert, private security. You got all that stuff there. So downtown, New Center, all that stuff, which has been a big revival, and that stuff too is protected. And yeah, you get a few people gonna go down there and act up. They redoing Greektown where they're closing that up, making that walkable.
It's gonna be nice.
They're doing all that stuff there too. So yeah, so the districts, then you got Paradise, that's across from down there too. So you got a lot of nice districts and things to do, but how does that spill off into the neighborhoods and stuff? So you got to try to land and bring some more, like you say, income to the city to where people can make a higher living, get more people, get this unemployment rate off there too, lower, and try to fix that too. But it's a vicious circle, and it's tough because a lot of other businesses and stuff, they abandoned the city. They moved out here, moved out there too. I mean, everybody's got their reasons, but that's what happened. So,
all right,
you got to build up from scratch.
Well, we'll say that topic for another day. So you got the last 2 topics, my brother. You got the jam and you got the message. So go ahead and bring us home for episode 5.
Here we go with the jam.
I recognize that.
I was just thinking about this one now. This was back in 1980 when this was released. It's the Freeze. IOU and Sometimes Why. Just bring back memories of stuff of going to the party and all that stuff downtown and at the various places where they had the parties at with the DJs. They always would play this and mix it in with the house music and everything there.
I remember Steve trying to mix this in his room when he had the DJ set up in his room.
Yeah. And this was a couple more that they played this too. They used to come out. So yeah, I remember that. Steve's room on San Juan. Vic was there mixing. So before we went out for a night of the town. So, hey, for those who remember this, let us know. For those who don't, hey, this is what we were doing back in the 80s, 1983. Freeze, AEIOU.
Sometimes why.
And sometimes why. All right. With that, the message of the week, we said message of the week today is May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. There are various types of mental health awareness. I mean, some of them, we just have people that's on one end of the spectrum to the other one. But just from a perspective of what they just know about is you got to have somebody to talk to. You need to understand that you're not the only one that's going through things, and that all of us go through stuff. And that if you just make it through that or make it past that it'll be all right. So I know a lot of times men and other stuff, we got to be tough where you can't shouldn't cry. You got all this stuff there too. But then we end up dying at an early age because of all this stress and stuff because we didn't take care of our mental health. So, hey, if you got, that's why, hey, I love all of y'all. I got 6 mental health counselors when I need it to just come to be able to talk no matter what it is. You can talk about it and say, hey, I had this same thing here too, but yep, I know this here too. I got that too. I mean, you don't know, but you can just get into a state to where, you don't, feel you got no out and you get to hurting. And then a lot of people saying you just want the hurt to stop. And then you can end up doing something to yourself. We lost Mike back in the day,
very young.
Thunderstone now, very young to where, just thought that, whatever was going on, you just wish that you talked to somebody or could have to maybe prevented a different, outcome and that kind of stuff there too. And then you're seeing a lot of suicide rates going up with the young, feeling that, hey, you ain't got no way out and this is the end of it. So no, just kind of be aware of your mental state of mind. If you need to take a break for something, sit down, do it. Don't worry about it being weak and all that too. And if you need to seek a professional or something, seek it, because your mental health is just as good as your physical health. So that's the We
All right.
Said message
Thank you, my brother.
other day for May being mental health awareness month.
Thank you, my brother. Message received and message understood. And rest in heaven to our brother Mike Turner, our young brother. Thanks for bringing him up, man. He'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, it was almost my jam of the week was going to be LaPonte, Elephants in Love, because I remember we went to that concert down in Shane Park when he was there live back in the day. So,
We'll always have his memories. All right. Well, that wraps up episode 5. So thank you for your comments, your thoughts, the laughter, and I'll see you Saturday for Sean's 60th birthday dinner at Savoy. So I know we'll have Savoy on the docket for next week to talk about that restaurant, among other things. So everyone have a good week, and thanks for joining us. Love y'all.
Friday.